Society paints a truly pathetic picture of older women living alone. They imagine us staring out the front window all day long. They think we desperately wait for the doorbell to ring. They assume we need a random visitor to save us from our crippling loneliness. Well, they are dead wrong. I am Mabel. I am 103 years old. I am sitting in my perfectly quiet living room right now. Someone just pulled into my driveway. I am absolutely refusing to get up and open that door. My house is not a public hotel. My home is an exclusive VIP club. I am the highly selective bouncer at the front door. The world expects you to keep your home wide open during your golden years. They expect you to drain your physical energy baking pies for uninvited guests. They want you to exhaust yourself maintaining a complete fantasy life for other people. I completely stopped playing that exhausting game. Trying to please every random guest is a guaranteed path to an early grave. I took a very hard look at my address book. I ruthlessly cut off all the fake friends. I permanently stopped entertaining guests. I do not do this out of anger. I do this to protect my own peace. I do this to fiercely preserve my brain sparkle. You cannot have a happy ending to a miserable journey. You must treat your remaining time like pure gold. Today I will tell you exactly why I locked my front door for good. I will show you how to take your beautiful life back. I want to talk about my official retirement from a terrible job. I used to play the role of the perfect hostess. It was an absolutely miserable gig. I spent decades living in sheer panic. The telephone would ring on a perfectly good Tuesday afternoon. Some old acquaintance would casually announce they were in the neighborhood. They wanted to drop by for a quick chat. My heart would immediately pound in my chest. I would look around my perfectly normal living room. Suddenly, it looked like a total disaster zone to my anxious eyes. I would run to the kitchen as fast as my knees allowed. I would start scrubbing the countertops like a madwoman. I ignored the deep ache in my lower back. I ignored the arthritis screaming in my knuckles. I would pull out the flour and the butter. I would frantically try to bake a fresh apple pie from scratch. I wanted them to walk in and smell cinnamon. I wanted them to believe I just baked pies all day for fun in a spotless house. Well, I was running an unpaid hotel. I was exhausting my own aging body to maintain a complete fantasy life for people who did not even care about me. I finally woke up one morning and realized the brutal truth. I walked into my kitchen and looked at my favorite floral apron. I took that apron off. I hung it on the little brass hook behind the pantry door. I patted it with my hand and left it there for good. I officially resigned from the unpaid hospitality business. This house is no longer a public bed and breakfast for wandering acquaintances. This house is a carefully curated retreat. It is a private sanctuary for my tired bones. I have established strict thermostat sovereignty. I set the temperature exactly where my cold feet like it. If someone decides to ignore my boundaries and drop by uninvited now, they are in for a huge shock. They will ring that doorbell. I might eventually slowly walk over and open it. They will see me standing there wearing my oversized fuzzy pink slippers. They will see my favorite faded blue cotton robe. The robe has a big brown coffee stain right on the left pocket. I will look them dead in the eye. I will not apologize for my appearance or the state of my living room. I will absolutely not offer to go brew a fresh pot of Earl Grey tea. I will not scramble to find a clean china saucer for them. You chose to invade my quiet peace without asking. You get exactly what is in front of you. My house, my rules, darling. This brings me to the second major change I made to survive this long. I had to take a brutal look at my social circle. We face so much silent pressure to maintain lifelong friendships. Society tells us we must hold on to people we met 50 years ago. We hold on to them out of pure blind obligation. I had this massive leather address book sitting on my wooden telephone table. It weighed about 10 pounds. It was stuffed full of faded ink names and outdated numbers. Most of those names belonged to people who brought absolutely zero joy to my daily life. The phone would ring loudly in the hallway. I would see a certain name flash on the little digital caller ID box. A heavy feeling of dread would wash right over my chest. I would answer the call anyway because I wanted to be polite. I would sit trapped in my armchair for 45 long minutes. I would listen to a woman complain endlessly about her ungrateful adult children. I would listen to her dump all her dark emotional garbage right into my sunny living room. She never paused to ask how my day was going. She never cared if my joints were acting up. She just used me as a free dumping ground for her personal misery. I decided my remaining time on this earth was far too precious for that nonsense. I went straight to my crafting drawer in the hallway. I pulled out my imaginary pair of giant golden scissors. I decided it was time to ruthlessly prune my overgrown social tree. I sat down at my round kitchen table with a hot cup of black coffee. I opened that heavy leather address book right down the middle. I looked at every single name printed on those yellowed pages. If a person only brought me drama and complaints, I crossed their name out with a thick black marker. Snip, snip. If a person only called to complain about the changing weather, I drew a hard dark line right through their phone number. Snip, snip. I cut off the endless energy vampires. I cut off the fake friends who only wanted a free slice of warm pie. I took that heavy book and tossed it right into the metal trash can. I heard it hit the bottom with a loud thud. I felt a massive weight lift off my tired old shoulders. I only kept a very tiny circle of people in my life now. I kept the folks who actually bring genuine light into my world. We laugh together about silly things. We sit in comfortable silence together on the porch. We do not demand anything exhausting from each other. That is the true secret to keeping your brain sparkle completely alive. You have to aggressively protect your peace from people who want to steal it. Let us talk about the absolute worst kind of visitor. I call them the energy vampires. These people do not want a real friendship. They just want a free audience for their endless misery. I had this one particular acquaintance named Brenda. Brenda would constantly knock on my solid oak front door. She never brought a warm casserole. She never brought a nice batch of chocolate chip cookies. She only brought a massive dark cloud of daily complaints. She would invite herself inside without wiping her dirty shoes on the mat. She would sit heavily on my expensive floral sofa. She wore this terrible cheap perfume. It smelled like fake roses and strong chemicals. She would immediately start whining about the terrible local traffic. She would complain about the rising price of regular ground beef at the butcher shop. She would loudly criticize the young cashier down at the corner grocery store. She complained about the local weather forecast. She complained about her own minor aches and pains. She treated my peaceful living room like a toxic waste dump. I could physically feel my own energy draining away right into the wooden floorboards. My joints would start to throb just listening to her shrill voice. I was literally sacrificing my precious golden years to listen to her whine about nothing. I was giving away my life force to a miserable person. I realized this toxic routine was literally draining the life right out of me. I had to find a quick way to stop this madness. I could not just scream at her to leave. I discovered a brilliant psychological strategy. It is called the gray rock method. You simply turn yourself into the most boring object in the entire room. You become a literal gray rock. Brenda came over one rainy Tuesday afternoon. She brought fresh complaints about her lazy daughter-in-law. She expected me to gasp in horror. She expected me to validate her nasty opinions. I completely refused to play the game. I did not nod my head in agreement. I did not offer any warm words of comfort. I did not try to fix her ridiculous family problems. I just sat perfectly still in my green velvet armchair. I kept my face completely blank. I stared right over her left shoulder at a small crack in the yellow wallpaper. I gave her short and flat answers. I just said yes. I just said no. I just said, I gave her absolutely zero emotional reaction to feed on. I did not smile. I did not frown. Well, the results were truly magical to witness. She started to speak faster and louder. She tried to provoke an angry reaction from me. I stayed perfectly still like a stone statue. She got incredibly bored after about 12 minutes. She abruptly stood up and grabbed her cheap plastic purse. She walked right out my front door in a huge huff. She never came back to dump her emotional garbage on me again. I successfully protected my thermostat sovereignty. I kept the temperature of my home perfectly peaceful and calm. I took my ultimate power back with total silence. People simply cannot comprehend a woman enjoying her own company. They look at my closed blinds and invent a tragic story. I have this extremely nosy neighbor named Richard living next door. Richard is a retired accountant. He is always aggressively trimming his green hedges just to spy on my driveway. He wears these awful tall white socks with his brown leather sandals. He leans over the wooden fence with this horrible look of deep pity on his face. He caught me pulling thick green weeds in the front yard last week. He held his shiny metal hedge clippers in his hand. He pointed them directly at my empty front porch. He used this incredibly slow and condescending voice to speak to me. He talked to me like I was a lost toddler in a crowded supermarket. He asked a truly stupid question. He asked if I was horribly depressed sitting inside my big house all weekend without any visitors. He asked if my adult children ever bother to call me anymore. He actually tilted his bald head to the side like a sad puppy dog. He assumed my life was an empty shell just because my driveway was empty. He thought I was rotting away in total isolation. He believed an old woman without constant guests is a useless tragedy. Society truly believes an empty house equals a broken heart. I slowly stood up straight. I brushed the dark, wet dirt off my heavy garden gloves. I looked Richard right in his little beady eyes. I gave him a very cold and flat stare. I told him the absolute unvarnished truth. I told him I do not avoid people because I am sad. I told him I avoid people because my own company is absolutely fabulous, sonny boy. I turned around and walked right back up my concrete front steps. My closed front door is not a sign of lonely isolation. My closed front door is the heavy iron gate to my own protected kingdom. I get to live my life entirely on my own terms now. I get to eat a full roasted turkey dinner at 8 in the morning if I want to. I get to watch my favorite loud Western movies at midnight with the volume turned all the way up. I do not have to wear an uncomfortable tight bra for anyone. I do not have to force a fake polite smile to make a boring guest feel comfortable. I do not have to clean the guest bathroom ever again. My home is my absolute fortress of solitude. It perfectly keeps the fake friends on the outside. I spend my days completely wrapped in total freedom and quiet joy. I read my old books in the warm, sunny window. I drink my hot coffee in absolute perfect silence. Cutting off the outside noise is the greatest gift you can give your aging body. Listen to me carefully right now, darling. You have spent your entire wonderful life serving other people. You raised the noisy kids. You built the stressful career. You hosted the heavy holiday dinners every single year. You smiled until your jaw physically ached. You carried everyone else on your tired back. You absolutely do not have to carry them anymore. Your golden years are a very special gift. They are not an open invitation for everyone else to just use you up. Society desperately wants you to feel useless without a house full of loud people. Society wants you to run yourself ragged just to prove your daily worth. Well, society is completely full of absolute nonsense. You have my official permission to finally stop running. You can hang up your floral hostess apron right now. You can take your heavy address book and throw it in the trash. You can aggressively protect your beautiful brain sparkle. Aging is the ultimate privilege to finally put yourself first without a single drop of guilt. I want you to do something very specific for me today, sugar. I want you to close this video right after I finish speaking. I do not want you to click on another noisy thing on the internet. I want you to simply stand up from your chair. I want you to walk over to your front door. I want you to physically turn that heavy metal deadbolt lock. I want you to listen to that satisfying sharp click. That loud click is the beautiful sound of absolute freedom. Then I want you to go straight into your cozy kitchen. I want you to brew a fresh cup of whatever warm drink you love the most. I want you to sit down in your absolute favorite chair by the window. I want you to just breathe the quiet air deeply into your lungs. I want you to finally realize your own company is a wonderful treasure. You are perfectly enough just as you are. If you have ever bravely used your invisible scissors to cut off an energy vampire, just whisper the word peace to yourself right now. You earned every single second of this beautiful quiet time. Now go enjoy your fiercely protected kingdom.